Today I'm going to be reviewing the CyclenBatt lithium iron phosphate 12.8 volt 100 amp hour mini battery, and this model is the Smart Bluetooth 5.0. I have reviewed one of these mini model before, but it is without the Bluetooth. This one has Bluetooth. So how good is it? Let's find out. The Smart Mini model with Bluetooth is the newest lineup from CyclenBatt right now. And I'm putting between the newest model and the older mini model side by side for comparison. And as you can see, they are exactly the same size and shape. This mini model is actually one of the smallest and the most compact battery you can get on the market. And I'm putting side-by-side comparison between a regular 100 amp hour and a mini 100 amp hour. And as you can see, it is a lot smaller. I would say overall, it's about half the size in terms of volume compared to a regular 100 amp hour battery. Dimensions of the battery: 9 inches by 5.5 inches by 8.25 inches. And it weighs a whopping 20 pounds, 13.5 ounces, so almost 21 pounds. A typical lead acid battery weighs about 40 pounds, so this is exactly half the weight of a lead acid battery. Let me first show you the Bluetooth app for this battery. So on the top here we got the state of charge of the battery. Down here we've got the voltage, current and wattage. Right now it's on standby mode. I got a 12 volt light bulb here. Let's go ahead and connect the light bulb, and you can see it was standby, now it's discharging. Current is negative 4.8 amp, and that's because it is discharging. It's pulling power out of the battery. So let me zoom in so I can show you clearly. So right now we are consuming 63.8 watts. Now let's go to the second page, cells. It will show you the individual voltage of every cell. And up here will show you the maximum and the minimum voltages and the difference between the maximum and the minimum. And right now difference is 0.003 volts. So this battery is pretty much balanced. Down here it will show you the internal temperature of the battery. Now let's go back to the first page, and down here it will give you an option to turn on and off charging and discharging function. So right now I have my light bulb plugged in, and if I click on discharging button, it will turn off my light bulb. Click again, it will turn on. And for the charging function, you can do the exact same thing. And this is a very nice feature where you can turn on and off remotely charging and discharging function of the battery. And also up here there's a cycle count. I only charged this battery up once, so that's why you see number 1 on here. It's a very cool app for monitoring your battery, and also gives you some control on the charging and discharging functions. I have charged the battery to 100%. The battery now is 13.36 volts. It's time to do a capacity test. I have 2 capacity testers here. Each one is discharging at 10 amps each for a total of 20 amps. The battery is 100 amp hour, so this will take about 5 hours to finish. Alright, it has been 5 hours exactly, and we already have reached 100 amp hour capacity. So on the left here we got 50.2 amp hour, on the right 49.95, so total capacity is over 100 hours already, but it is still going, so I'm just gonna let them go until the BMS shuts down. Alright, we are done. The BMS just shut down. Let's see what we got. See the one on the left. It's been 5 hours 11 minutes and capacity is 52.11 amp hour. See the one on the right, 51.98 amp hour. So total capacity is 104.09 amp hour, and that is about 4% more than the rated capacity for this battery, so that's awesome. Here is all of the data I have recorded for the last 5 hours. It's time for a load test. I got the battery connected to my 3500 watt inverter, and I've got a 1500 watt heater plugged in the inverter. This battery is rated at 100 amp continuous current, so let's go ahead and test that. Now let's first test it below 100 amp and see how it runs. Here we go. And let's turn on the timer. Alright, we're running at 67 amps. It's been 2 minutes. We've been running at 75 amps continuous, 1036 watts total. Alright, it's been running for over 5 minutes at 75 amps continuous, 1036 watts. Everything is nice and smooth. The battery stays cool. Let's take a look at the app here. Alright, we are discharging at 74.3 amps. And let's take a look over here. Battery temperature 25 degrees Celsius. That's at room temperature. That is awesome. And it's been running for almost 7 minutes at 75 amps. So that is pretty cool. Alright, so I think we're good now. So let's go ahead and turn this off. This battery is rated at 130 amps for 10 seconds. So let's go ahead and test that. Here we go. Start. We're at 146 amps and rising. Oh yeah, that is less than 10 seconds. Let's turn this off. That's about, I would say, about 8 to 9 seconds. And the BMS shuts down. Battery voltage now is, what is that? 2 volts. 2 volts. Let me turn off the inverter now. And we're going to see how long it takes to turn back on. So let's reset and put on the timer again. Let's see how long it takes to turn back on. Oh yeah, it doesn't take long at all. I would say about 10 to 15 seconds. And we are back on. There's one more thing I want to test. Peak current number 2. 330 amps for 5 seconds. Alright, I got my electric kettle plugged in, so the total power now is about 3000 watts. Here we go. And start. 283 amps and rising. Oh yeah, stop. So we are about, I would say, what, 7 seconds? Yep, it takes about 7 seconds to turn off the BMS. And let's see how long for the BMS to turn back on. Oh yeah, turns back on. It would say about 15 seconds. So it's exactly the same like last time. Let's check on the battery temperature right now to see how hot it is. 26.7 degrees Celsius. That's only about, what, less than 2 degrees Celsius warmer than before the test. That is awesome. So there you go. The battery runs just fine for anything below 100 amps. When you overload the battery at over 130 amps or up to 280 amps in my case, the battery will shut down after about 7 to 10 seconds. And then you got another 10 seconds for the BMS to turn back on. So that's awesome. And after all these tests, the battery stayed cool at room temperature. That is cool. Literally cool. This battery has low temperature charging protection. That means when the battery temperature is too cold, the BMS will shut down charging to prevent the battery from being damaged. So let's go ahead and test that. See what we got on the app here. The battery state of charge is at 90%. Let's see the temperature on the battery, and it is negative 11 degrees Celsius. I put the battery in the freezer overnight and it's very cold right now. You can see a lot of vapors forming on the battery. Let's plug it in. Alright, we are charging and shuts down. So the BMS sends the temperature too cold and shuts down charging to protect the battery. So that's working great. Let's see what we got on the app here. We are still at negative 10 degrees Celsius. And we go down here. I'm going to try and turn this on. See if it would turn on charging. So there you go. Charging is disabled and I cannot turn it on. This will only turn on when the battery is warm up enough. So there you have it, the newest model from CyclenBatt, the 12.8 volt 100 amp hour mini smart Bluetooth. The best thing I like about this battery, it is so small and lightweight, yet it runs so cool, literally, so that's awesome.